Hello everybody, my name is Gerben de Vries and welcome to Conscious Yes, where we talk about the inner world, the world of the spirit, and discovering, rediscovering, exploring oneself. And not in ideas or concepts so much, but in reality. What is coming up as we talk, right? What do you feel, and where does it come from? How does it move? That's what I'm interested in to talk about what is. And I'd like to talk a little bit about babies. As a baby, when we're born way too early, right? The brain size of a human being is so big, and it becomes so big that we have to be born too early, about 4 months, 3 or 4 months. And we can't do anything when we're born. We're born so early, we can't move, we're ultra dependent, right? As a parent, everybody knows that state. Ultra dependent. So that period is incredibly crucial, right? It's almost like a pyramid. We start at the base. We start completely broad as a almost blank slate. And there's the whole discussion or disagreement about if it's nurture or nature. Is a baby born with a certain personality and traits and ideas, innate, or is it all nurture? Does it all come from epigenetics, from our environment, from raising our how we raised, if we're spanked or mistreated psychologically, all that stuff. And I think it's this blend between those two. But this base where we start off is so important, because from there we're still sort of a blank slate, which can be influenced. As a baby, the neurons, the learning, the links, the synapses that are being put in place, the links that are being made is incredible. How we learn at that age, the amount of empirical learning, through our senses, is incredible. From the get-go, it's a beautiful thing to watch in a baby. How, in our childhood, starting with the base, as we get older, what our childhood is like. It sounds so logical, but God, so many people don't get this. How we're being treated as a baby completely decides what our life is going to look like, right? And it's that nuance. It takes a very nuanced mind to see how life is happening, and there's the delusion that we're making our own action, or making our own decisions and all that stuff. And to a certain degree that's true in our experience. How we experience something, we have a choice. But it's a very nuanced point, which I want to keep for another video. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that we make all these decisions on life based on how we are, how we feel, our level of anxiety, level of happiness, level of confidence. We either do something or don't do something, go out and write this email, not talk to this person, not jump on that bus, not jump on that airplane, not take that job, or do take that job, is all based on that, right? On our confidence, how we feel. And every step we take shapes our future. We all know, like, how in movies, like, if I wouldn't have taken that bus, I would have never met never met my wife, never moved to another country. The smallest thing can have complete consequences to the rest of your life. So with the baby, there's that huge base of potential towards life. When we get beaten, when we get spanked as a baby, some people spank their babies. 90% of Americans still spank their children. 90%. It's just unbelievable. When psychological abuse, in being in an environment that is hostile, where there's yelling taking place, All this has complete influences, especially as a really wee one, on one's levels of serotonin, dopamines, well, the whole cocktail of drugs that make us a human being. Like, it decides our levels of happiness, and it decides our learning speed. When we're in a comfortable situation, we learn faster, and when there's no anxiety, we learn faster, we learn more, because there's a broad perspective. As a baby, there's this floodlight consciousness of taking in everything and assimilate. So it becomes so important, those first 3 months especially, because we're ultra dependent, and we're not being picked up when we cry. That tells us something as a baby. When we're spanked as a baby, that tells us something as a baby. And some people think that they're teaching a child something by letting a child cry out. Just let the baby cry out, because the baby has to self-soothe. Self-soothing is a rational movement. Kids at a certain point go from an empirical learning to a rational learning. The both will be going on, but there's that point when we cross over to a rational, through ideas, through reasoning. Like, hey, maybe I'm okay. And so at a young age, that doesn't happen until 3-4 years old or something. Maybe even later. And people think that before that it's okay to let the babies cry out because they have to self-soothe. Learn by rationale, which it's not there yet. I think crying out method is ridiculous in itself. I don't think, if you have any empathy, any feeling of compassion, I can imagine anybody doing that. I have a child myself. But that's for everybody self to decide. But when there's not that soothing taking place, not that when the baby doesn't feel like it's secure psychologically and physically, it has huge impacts on their serotonin levels, on the dopamine levels, on their IQ even. If a child gets spanked, it lowers their IQ. It lowers their serotonin levels, their happiness. So it lowers their confidence. So that has tremendous influence on the rest of that person's life. What that person will be drawn to, what the level of saneness, of logical thinking that person is going to be capable of, the decisions that a person makes in life, hinges on one's childhood. And the real stupidity, I think real stupidity lies in not seeing the consequences of one's acting, of the actions that we take. And we can be super smart, have tremendous IQs. Real stupidity is not seeing the consequences of our actions. And this comes from seeing. This does not come from the intellect. This comes from an intuitive understanding of life and seeing, which is not thought, seeing the whole of how something moves, and with that the outcome of something. The outcome of how we treat our children is why the world is in the shape that it's in. And so we must educate. We must not only educate from through knowledge and filling the jar with beans with all sorts of bullpucky that is not life related. We need to teach about life, about emotions, about how the mind works, right? It's like, I had such a bad day today, and here's why. I have so much anxiety today. Let's find out together how that originated and what happened, that connection. We all go through it. It's part of life. So follow don't accept authority too much. And I did a video about believing and accepting authority, about how we should raise our children, for instance. You know, it's okay to not know, because as soon as you become a parent, you'll find that feeling quickly of, oh, what am I supposed to do? What's the right way to go about this? You know, follow your heart. If you read somewhere you should leave your baby cry, but your heart is like, oh, this, you know, it's horrible. Why would you not go with what your heart is telling you? What is your connection with your child? Isn't that so much more important than what some douchebag wrote in the book, right? Some authority, you know? It's your life. How do you want to live your life? Do you know? Not what the government is telling you through school education and the limited ideas that we have about learning. But the baby's life is our future. It's our future planet. And it's not looking so great, right? It's completely run by sociopaths that are most likely have been abused, had a bad childhood, had, you know, all sorts of insecurities. So thank you so much for your time. Hope this has been helpful to you. Have a good day. Bye.